everything is upside down. And I'll tell you something, in all of my career, I've never seen such anxiety. I feel like it has been showered over me over the last 2 weeks, where people are really terrified. It's one thing to speak of, problems in the stock and the bond market and the real estate market. It's another thing to talk about 5,000 banks, regional banks, which represent 70% of all the small business loans in this country, and small businesses representing 40% of GDP forever. It's one thing for that to happen, and another thing for these banks to be on the chopping block, a fuse to be lit underneath the safety of what we consider to be non-speculative. To put our money in the bank is what we've been taught to do since we were little kids with the piggy bank. Put it in there, it's safe, and it's not speculating, it's not investing, it's safe. And now all of a sudden that whole thing is thrown upside down and being forced into a small group of very large banks, the big commercial banks like JP and Morgan Stanley and Citi. And this is a very big problem, especially in the light of the central bank digital currency. And we've talked about Lael Brainerd before, and Lael Brainerd, who is the architect in many respects of this whole ideology, a modern monetary theorist whose main premise is the abolishment of the commercial banking system. Well, you throw everyone into the commercial banks and get rid of the 5,000 regional banks, and now you have everyone in a mousetrap. And if you decide to roll out a central bank digital currency, and worse yet, if these commercial banks fail and everyone is inside the system, you come in and you issue a new central bank digital currency to the rescue. Now, I'm not saying that this is what the plan is, but Lael Brainerd first was at the Treasury, then she was second in charge at the Federal Reserve, and now she's the head of Biden's Economic Advisory Committee. And her whole theory is modern monetary theory, abolishment of the commercial banks, and direct payments to and from the central bank. Well, what better way to accomplish that than to scare everyone out of the regional banks? And this is going to create a really, really rocky road for a while. And I think, you're hearing people say that within 2 years, there'll only be 6 banks left. Now, I don't know that to be true, but if you think about it, and you're a farmer or own a small business or whatever it may be, I'm thinking about this as someone who banks with a bank that isn't a massive bank, for my own business, for my own personal finances. Like, do you need to move to JP Morgan? Do you need to move to Wells Fargo? These are banks that, you're just a number. You don't have the personal relationship that you've always had with the bank who's looked out for you, who's extended lines of credit for you, who's done things for you because of this relationship. And now you're going to, if you're not connected to the good old boys group, you're going to have to beg for scraps. Now, I'm being a little bit facetious here and a little dramatic, but it is true. These small banks have given loans to companies, startups, and small businesses because of relationships. And these relationships will be discarded, and you'll just be another number. This is happening. And what it leads to is very frightening. Does it lead to the central bank digital currency? Does it lead to everyone piled into the commercial banks and then they fail? Is that by design? And then you blow up the whole system when interest rates spike to the moon and banks fail, and then you issue a new central bank digital currency. It's the reset. Is that part of the plan? I don't know, but I will tell you that if that was your ultimate goal, the first step would be to get everyone out of what amounts to almost 5,000 regional banks and get them into the perfect mousetrap, a handful of giant banks, and who are at the behest of the government. So I don't know. It's scary times, and this is exactly the kind of thing that will only accelerate the de-dollarization across the globe. They see what we are doing and how counterintuitive many of the things that we are doing actually are, which all speak to the evisceration of the value of the dollar in the treasury market, and the ramifications that have are not good. It's funny, everyone wanted to invest in the regional banks because they thought they would be safer. And now everyone is moving out of the regional banks because the big banks are supposedly safer. Yet you look at the derivative position of the big 4 or 5 banks and they're horrifically frightening. So is the plan to herd everyone into these banks and then let the derivative time bomb blow up those banks? There's your great reset. I don't know, really don't. But it would be logical if that was the way to do it, to issue a CBDC, which the Bank of International Settlements told us everyone needs to have by 2025. Is this their plan? Is this what Lael Brainerd meant by the abolishment of the commercial banks? Well, what does that really mean? How does it play out? I don't know, but I do know that if you are fully invested in dollars and this stuff goes down, you're destined to go broke. And I also will tell you that I've never seen the demand for precious metals even remotely close to what I'm seeing right now, ever in 34 years. Not even close, not by a million miles. And I will stick to what I've been saying on your show for the past 2 years. This market will define itself by the inability to source product when the music stops. And I mean that 100%. Take from that what you will. If you want to think I'm talking my book, that's fine. I am through debating it. I will just simply tell you that I've never seen anything like this. And this is with only a little bit of the public waking up. But then you throw into the mix the states that are waking up a lot of people all of a sudden: Missouri, Alaska, Texas, Idaho, Wyoming, Mississippi, Kansas. These states are not only allowing metals to be part of the state treasury, but are allowing metals to be used in all debts, public and private. How long before people wake up to this? And God bless these states and their representatives for standing up to the horrible monetary and fiscal policy that is ruining the value of our dollars. So yeah, I think this is going to get crazier and crazier and crazier in this industry. And I've been begging people to look at this environment as the best we've seen in a long time for availability and premium. And that's disappearing now too. Things are starting to go bye-bye again, and premiums will go higher. If this environment continues, you will see by the third quarter, premiums higher than they were for the last 3 years, and availability much worse than it was for the last 3 years. That would be my prediction. This is the real deal. And I think it would be wise of people to look at the world a little bit differently right now, because just like the president of Kenya says, things are going to be different. Now, he says in a few weeks. I don't know what he knows that we don't know. But what I will tell you is that just like the game of Jenga, it is another piece pulled from the dollar hegemony. You keep pulling pieces like Turkey, like Saudi Arabia, like Mexico just joining formally, applying for the BRICS, like Kenya, like all of these countries that are signing accords and deals and unilateral trade agreements outside the dollar, outside of SWIFT. It's a very, very big deal. And then you add the complete and total dysfunction inside the border. It's only exacerbating and accelerating and reinforcing the motivation of these countries to do what they're doing.